Hi, my name is Christy McKenzie. I apologize, I do not have an audience. I am a mom and I work full time, and it is very difficult for me to uh, find adults um, at this age that can meet up with me. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the king with 6 wives. Can you imagine living the life of luxury 1 minute and then being accused of something you didn't do and then are beheaded because of it? This was the reality of some of King Henry's 6 wives. So today we're going to look into this historically famous story of King Henry VIII and his wives, 6 wives. We're also going to look at how each of these women were impacted by their marriage to King Henry. The first wife of King Henry VIII was Catherine of Aragon. Originally, she was married to King Henry's brother, the Prince Arthur. Um, but when he died, shortly after their wedding, she then married King Henry. She was also the mother to Bloody Mary, as we know her now. Mary would eventually take the throne later in life. Next, we have Anne Boleyn. Henry broke his marriage with Catherine to marry Anne, a Protestant, and they were married for 3 years. And she would become the mother to the future Queen Elizabeth, who would reign for a very, very long time and get England through the what we call Golden Age. Next, we have Jane Seymour. This was Henry's third wife and was his greatest love. They had one child, and it was a male heir. And unfortunately, Jane passed shortly after the birth of Prince Henry, who would go on himself before Mary to rule England. Next, we have Anne of Cleves. She was married to the king for roughly 6 months. He was not fond of her, and she is known as the great survivor of King Henry. She was from Germany and was originally promised to somebody else before being engaged to King Henry. Uh, Anne has a very interesting story of how King Henry came to know her. He was given a painting of her and thought she was beautiful. And then when she presented herself, he tried to do an active romantic gesture, which was a tradition that dated back to French chivalry. Um, and it scared her, and she did not recognize him, and she is said to have pushed him away, which left a sour taste in his mouth. And he did not like her, so he then had his marriage annulled with Anne of Cleves, and he married a very young Catherine Howard, who was but a teenager when they were married. Their marriage lasted for only 2 years, and she was about 18 when she passed. And lastly, we have Catherine Parr. This would be Henry's sixth and final wife. They were married for 3 years, and in those 3 years, while King Henry suffered many, many, many ailments and aging pains and things of that nature, it is said that Catherine Parr took excellent care of King Henry in those times. And she was not only that, but a scholar and had her work published, even. So now that we've taken a look at all his wives, we're going to start looking at what happened to them and how their lives seem to have ended. First, we have Catherine of Aragon. Henry divorced her. He wanted to separate from the church, and he had caught the eye of this beautiful woman named Anne Boleyn, and because Catherine of Aragon had not produced him a male heir, although she did actually have a male heir who died shortly after his birth. It was just like a month or two after his birth, he passed. She could not produce another male heir, and that really bothered King Henry. So his love for her just seemed to have vanished. And um, so when he did divorce her, he exiled Queen Catherine and Princess Mary, um, and kind of gave them the royal treatment, but away from castle and away from court. So then he married Anne Boleyn, and Anne was accused of infidelity and treason against the king, and these were simply rumors started by somebody who did not like her because she was pushing King Henry into more of the Protestant faith instead of the Catholic faith. And so rumors started, and she was arrested, and King Henry ended up beheading her because he believed these stories to be true. And then we have Jane Seymour. This slide, I apologize, I have miswrote. She did not actually die during childbirth. She died after childbirth. About a week or two after, she had fallen ill, and she could not overcome that ailment. She did produce a male heir, and for that, King Henry loved her so, so much. Um, the the son that they had was named Prince Edward, and he would go on to be crowned the King of England at 9 years old, but unfortunately died at the age of 15. And of course, we have Anne of Cleves, who is considered the great survivor. She was their wedding, their marriage, I should say, was annulled, and simply because the king did not like her, as we discussed before. And then he married, of course, Catherine Howard, who also ended up beheaded for infidelity and treason because of a person named Thomas Culpeper. And this was somebody that Catherine had known from childhood and she had relations with prior to, and all of these things came to fruition. And King Henry was very upset, and so he had her beheaded. And the interesting thing about Catherine Howard, excuse me, is that during her stay in the London Tower, um, it is said that she practiced laying her head on um, the block, um, so she could get familiar with it and not be as scared of it when the time came. And then we have Catherine Parr. She survived King Henry. She actually outlived him, and she took great care of him while he was alive. Um, so, out of all of his wives, there were only three that survived. Um, and what's very interesting is that he was so persistent on having a male heir that when his male heir took the crown, he was only wearing it for only about 6 years before it was passed on to his older sister Mary, who would be considered Bloody Mary for her actions against the Protestants. And then when she was when she died, then we had the infamous Queen Elizabeth, who would take London through the Golden Age. So there there is so much history in this, and it is a very interesting topic to go back and look at and think, what if I was accused of something I didn't do? Would I have been beheaded, or would the king have had mercy on me, or would he have even liked me? These are all interesting aspects to this story, and I hope you enjoyed learning about King Henry VIII and his six wives and how they all either survived or did not survive their marriages to the um, of England, King Henry of England.